I figured I better actually come on live before any more breaking news happened. Wow, what a day we have. Good to have you guys all here. It's the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. And the president just coming out moments ago and saying that the U.S. is terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. This is in response to Ottawa imposing a digital services tax on U.S. tech firms. And he had no use for that one. He said, you know what? When you're ready to play ball, we're here ready to play ball. But in the meantime, we're not playing these games. You're not going to have these little tariffs and taxes on our companies. You know, what's fair is fair, right? Welcome to the show. What a day. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a very, very upset Letitia James, a very, very upset AOC, an upset Kathy Hochul as well, right? They're all freaking out. Why? Because Donald Trump was just handed a major win by none other than the Supreme Court on something that's important to these guys, and that's birthright citizenship, right? Because if you come here, even illegally, and you have a child, you can then have that child become a United States citizen. And so the Trump administration has taken issue with this, basically saying it's encouraging bad behavior. And what do you know? The Supreme Court came forward with this really, really, really big announcement that basically puts, Letitia James out of business. And you know why she's out of business? Because she's made a career out of going after Donald Trump. And now she's not actually going to be able to do that anymore because all the federal court judges, you know, those district judges all over the country that were trying to effectively decide the fate of the rest of the nation, one single judge. And we kept saying, you know, this isn't right. These judges aren't elected. Why are they deciding the fate of the rest of the country? Well, the Supreme Court just came out and said, you know what? That can't happen anymore. No. You're not going to have a single judge making the decision for the rest of the nation. So this is a momentous bit of news. It limits the judge's powers, which gets us to the birthright citizenship. But I'm telling you guys, huge, massive win. I want to go to the decision right now. You see this coming out this morning, the Supreme Court of the United States deciding that, you know what, these single judges cannot actually have these nationwide injunctions preventing the executive orders from the President of the United States of America from taking effect. Well, one of those big executive orders happens to be birthright citizenship. So this is a major deal, and it does put Letitia James out of business. It does put all of these AGs everywhere that are just trying to fight him at every turn, as well as the district court judges and the single federal judges that want to get in the way of any of the executive orders coming from the presidential office. They're not going to have the sway they did, the power they did. And Donald Trump was pretty happy about it. I want you to listen.
Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now properly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
Wow. Okay. This is a big deal, you guys. A huge ruling putting a lot of power back in the hands of the President of the United States. You heard him refer, of course, to birthright citizenship. You know, this is important. It came about the 14th Amendment, that is, as a result of the Dred Scott case. And, you can go back to, fifth grade social studies, back when they used to actually teach this stuff. I don't know as they do anymore. But anyway, basically what it did was it ensured that anybody who had been formerly enslaved, they had American citizenship, their children had American citizenship. And the clause reads, and I'm going to quote, all persons born born or naturalized in the United States and subjects to jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And so that one sentence, right, that is what has become the foundation for the so-called birthright citizenship. But a lot of people have said, you know what they were talking about back then was actually very specific. When you're talking about jurisdiction thereof, the core argument by those in the Trump legal team would be that, you know what, when you were talking about this in 1868, you weren't talking about people who were coming here to say, have an anchor baby, tourists, right? I mean, hey, 60 Minutes was doing this story years ago, like decades ago, about people from China coming over and, they had the wealth to be able to come over here and that way they could get a dual citizenship for their kids. And it's not just China, any place, right, where you were in the world, like, why not have that optionality and come to the United States, get a U.S. passport along with whatever you had. But then increasingly, and especially within the last 4 years, you have seen an influx of people, well, not even the last 4 years. I mean, this has been going on for a couple of decades, but certainly, the 20 million that came in unannounced during the Biden administration contributed to this. You have people that are coming here illegally and they are having kids and they become American citizens. And so what has happened is everything's kind of gotten warped. And so what the Trump administration is pointing out is that you're creating these perverse incentives for people to come here illegally or for people to have tourist visas to come here to be able to have a child. And that's not how it was intended to be. So this is huge. It is just, it's remarkable, not just with the birthright issue, which is a huge one, but all of this, sort of interference from these lower court judges is now coming into question. You can see the treatment in the media being SCOTUS hands Trump a major win, limiting judges' ability to block his birthright citizenship order nationwide. That's coming to us from Politico. And look, I would say any way you slice it, it is a huge win. And even CNN had to admit this. I was watching MSNBC as the news came in, because I watch it also, so that we know what everybody is thinking in every, spot in the universe, right? And I read everything too, all sides. And the main sort of thrust of the argument there on MSNBC was that they were just confused. They were really, really, really confused. It's not that confusing, okay? Because look, now a single judge cannot get in the way of an executive order. They don't have the ability to issue a nationwide injunction, which is what they were doing with birthright citizenship as well as some other things. So that no longer exists. The court will have to go back and decide birthright citizenship at some point. So this is sort of a temporary measure, and we can talk about that. But first, just know what a big deal this is, because now you're saying to the district court judges, the federal judges, hey guys, it's game over. You guys can't do this anymore.
To Donald Trump, multiples of that. And now, finally, this case has made its way up to the Supreme Court. And so we're going to go through this case as quickly as we can. It looks like, at first glimpse, and we're just starting, it looks like the court has put some limits on the ability of district courts, trial courts, to issue those kind of rulings. And it looks like the court has said district courts only have the power to do that in certain very narrow circumstances. So we're going to go through this and get the details soon, but that's the gist.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the gist, which means all those judges that are out there doing this, that, and the other are not going to be able to do that anymore. In terms of whether or not this 14th Amendment and people that are in the jurisdiction thereof, right, of the United States, whether that would apply to anybody coming here, that may be still up for grabs, because you're going to now have a little bit of chaos going on. Not that we didn't have any already, right? So now you get basically 22 states out there that are saying there is no way that Donald Trump can say that you are not a citizen of the United States if you're born in this country. And then you have all the other states, all the red states, that are going to say, well, we agree with Donald Trump. And we do not believe that if you are here as an undocumented immigrant, if you're here on a tourist visa, this, that, and the other, you are going to be able to just automatically qualify for citizenship, birthright citizenship in the United States. And so this is setting up that tension. And at some point, the court will be forced to make a decision on that, because you see what's going to happen, guys. You're going to have all these 22 states come together. I mean, Letitia James is already chomping at the bit. We're going to get to her reaction in a second. They're going to come together and they're going to say, okay, now we're suing on behalf of everybody. Meanwhile, you're going to have the other states saying, we agree with the federal government, and the federal government's going to go back to, what do you know, the naturalization clause. What do you know? The Supremacy Clause. Oh, the Commerce Clause. They're going to say we're the ones that have control over immigration and who is in this country. So our decision trumps, quite literally, anything you guys want to do. Letitia, looking at you, honey. So that's going to be the next wrinkle, if you would, in this entire case. And it's really upsetting some people. Some people like, oh, of course, AOC. AOC has been saying for a while that somehow the Trump administration is anti-immigration. I mean, forget about the fact that they just brought in all those people from South Africa. I mean, she would say that that's somehow racially motivated. I mean, on and on and on and on. And this is her, if you're looking at the screen, AOC in the Puerto Rican Day Parade, campaigning for the socialist communist mayor of New York City, who is now the Democrat nominee. Let me tell you, the Democrats are scared right now because you have the likes of AOC and now this socialist about to take over New York City, and they realize that this is not going to play in Peoria or the rest of the country. So it's very specific to that sort of Brooklyn hipster crowd. It was a lot of college-educated white kids that decided to vote early for this guy, and now everybody's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do in the city of New York? And they blame Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for it. And believe me, she's now kind of up creek without a paddle. You look at what's coming out of some of the top Dems, Rahm, Emanuel. Oh my gosh, Shifty Schiff. Adam Schiff is actually praising Donald Trump on Iran. We're going to get to that momentarily, but remember how mad they are. Letitia James is livid. AOC, I mean, she thinks for some reason that the Republicans are anti-immigrant, which they're not. They're just saying, hey, we're pro-law and order. Imagine that.
About how this is about illegal versus legal immigration. They are attacking legal status and removing legal status. The Republican majority is anti-legal immigration in the United States. And I want to make that very clear, and I yield back.
Ooh, really clear? Well, I'm going to tell you, I want to play some sound from Representative Wesley Hunt. He was recently in some hearings talking about the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship and what it meant to him as a descendant of people that needed that 14th Amendment for all the obvious reasons. In other words, it's rooted in something, and in his estimation, you are sort of trouncing all over the history and what was given to African Americans who had been enslaved, and he's not having it, not one bit of it. Let's listen to Representative Hunt, a pretty spectacular defense of saying this is not fair, this is not right, this is not what was intended.
We are a nation of immigrants. But there's a difference, stark difference, between giving citizenship to the children of slaves, the children of those subject to the Middle Passage, the children of sharecroppers, and the children of those who were once considered property, and giving citizenship to the children of people who crossed the border illegally, stay in taxpayer-funded luxury hotels, who receive free Xboxes, free cell phones, free flights around the country, and 3 square meals a day. There's a big difference. My great-great-grandfather was born on a plantation, Rosedown Plantation in Louisiana. He had to join the Union Color Guard to gain his freedom. By morphing the citizenship clause into something that it wasn't meant to be, it's demeaning to descendants of slaves like me. And
so,
not just me.
A really interesting and important take, once again saying, listen, this was written in a very different time, and it was a very specific application. And that's, again, what you heard from Donald Trump today. So this will get fought out in the courts. And look, Letitia's already chomping at the bit. Letitia is livid. How dare the Supreme Court actually say that, I'm not going to have a future going after Trump anymore since all these federal judges can't have these nationwide injunctions. Oh, she's going to be basically put out of business, right? Here's her tweet. Let's go to this, guys. I'm going to wind up getting very close to the camera. I'm back in my studio on Monday, but right now we're winging it from the road where I am actually visiting family up in Live Free or Die, New Hampshire. So here we go. We've got Letitia James saying the issue of birthright citizenship was not decided today. SCOTUS remanded to the lower court the authority of federal judges to issue nationwide injunctions. A state attorney general who respects the Constitution is now more important than ever. She knows that she's doomed, okay? This is her way of trying to raise more money to actually get people to buy into whatever it is she's selling. And that's why she's like trying to give herself, I mean, it's so obvious. You know, she doesn't even have any sophistication or savoir-faire about how she does these things on Twitter, right? To actually be a state attorney general who respects the Constitution is now more important than ever. Oh my gosh, Tishy, baby. You know what? You don't really respect the Constitution at all, because if you respected the Constitution, you would understand, would you not, that actually the federal government is going to trump you, no pun intended, or maybe, all day long, because they are the ones with the jurisdiction over migration and naturalization, and they're the ones that decide who's in the country, who's not. Okay, so that ship has sailed. I mean, you tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself, but this is what's been going on. I mean, the woman's becoming completely unhinged, because every single time these legal decisions come down, we don't know what kind of law school she went to, given that she doesn't even understand. Oh, when you fill out a mortgage application and you sign on the power of attorney and you say that that's going to be your primary residence, you can't actually have those kind of clerical errors that would possibly have influenced your ability to get a better mortgage rate, Letitia, right? That's a whole scandal. Those allegations still going on, and they're going to be very problematic for her. But I'm just saying, she's not the best attorney general in the world, nor is she the best lawyer, but she's very emotional. Right? She's super duper emotional, as we saw recently.
And you want me to sit in my seat and stand idly by and allow this craziness to happen? You can come after me if you want, but you elected me to stand up. You elected me to use the law. You elected me to go to court. You elected me to continue to challenge this administration. You elected me to stand up for the least of God's children. You elected me to continue fighting on, and I will fight on.
I'm sorry, guys. I know you don't want to watch that. But like I said, you need to know how the other side is thinking. So this is a fight to her. You see nothing but a fight. It's a political fight. And, you know, as we just heard from Representative Wesley Hunt, there are real reasons that actually Letitia James should be kind of upset that this 14th Amendment is being extended to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Jill, Susan, and Jane. And I guess everybody in between, right? Since we have that these days, that wants to come to the U.S. Come on. But Letitia James, I mean, it's like one thing after another. She filed another suit yesterday. She's running out of money, you see, in the state of New York. And this is what they actually said. You know, he's going to be able to continue doing this. Pam Bondi, you can just shut her off. You can shut her off. And she's not going to be able to have too much to say about it.
People are rising up and standing up against this government, petitioning our government that, in fact, this is not how we operate. This is not what we wanted. This is not what we voted for. Individuals who are demanding due process and individuals who are demanding that this federal government follow the rule of law. And so I am just really excited about all of the energy that I am seeing on the ground. And I'm also very proud of the fact that the one institution that's standing up and fighting back and holding this administration accountable are the courts.
Yeah. Oh, well. Again, the Supreme Court coming out with a major ruling. And what has been decided is that you cannot have all these random courts with all these lower level judges out there issuing nationwide injunctions against the President of the United States and his executive orders. So, Letitia, it's kind of game over, okay? Like, you legally don't have a whole lot of room here. Like I said, you know what? You can bring the whole birthright citizenship up before the court. Maybe it's an interesting and important thing for them to have to decide. Because, again, I think when the 14th Amendment was put into play, they didn't think people were going to come here because they had really deep pockets and could afford to effectively buy their kids citizenship by planking themselves down here for 9 months or less. Nor did they think that people were going to come here illegally just so that they could benefit from all the wonderful opportunities American citizenship gives you. I mean, it is something that's uniquely American, but you know what? It's kind of run its course, right? Because we're living in a very different day and age. And so perhaps the court does need to look at that one, and they will. But in the meantime, well, this is going to get interesting because you're going to have the state of New York, for example, sit there and say, sanctuary city, we're going to help all the legal migrants. We're going to take your taxpayer dollars and we're going to use it to fight these battles in court. And you know who's not liking this? Voters. I mean, don't forget, guys, Donald Trump was elected for a reason. He was elected actually for two reasons. One was immigration and the other was the economy. And so looking at his track record, so far so good, right? You talk about winning. What a week. I mean, last night we got news of the China trade deal that's happening. And now today, this one, on the heels of what happened with Rahm, we're talking winning. I'm like, I can't keep up. I was joking that as I was coming to air, and it took us a little longer because the news was coming in and out of Canada with the tariffs, et cetera. And of course, the Supreme Court stuff and the interpretation of all of this. I'm like, we got to get on the air because who knows what's coming next, right? Like it's boom, boom, boom. And it's amazing to see. I mean, truly, I got to tell you, like I've been a journalist for a long time. I've never seen anything like this. It is fast and furious, and he's got a lot of wins. The sail, the wind is right at the back of him right now, so he's sailing forward. Letitia James, however, is not. These are the most recent polls from Siena College, and you can see that Letitia James is looking really kind of dicey there. She's looking 60-40. I mean, unfavorable, and they don't know versus favorable there in the state of New York. The only people that like her are some of the lefties in New York City, the ones that voted for the socialist communist guy who everybody's freaking out over right about now. Senator Chuck Schumer, he's pretty vulnerable too, as is Representative Hakeem Jeffries. But Letitia is actually more vulnerable than both of them because when you add all that up, 60% are not sure that they're going to vote for her. So again, I would just remind you that people voted for Donald Trump for a reason, and New York City is very peculiar and very much its own little island, Manhattan being the center of it. And they have gone extremely left, extremely progressive. We'll see what happens. I actually think Eric Adams is going to have a really good shot there as mayor in New York City because this is just too much. But think about what's happening in the rest of the state. So the rest of the state is very different. I know this, my husband's actually from the Buffalo area, and so we spent a lot of time there in Western New York, and I'm like, wow, look at all the Trump signs. They're everywhere, right? And there's a lot of support for Donald Trump when you get outside of New York City. Well, Letitia James is trying to throw her weight around quite literally in a lot of these places, and she's now trying to probe local cops, including in Western New York, saying, hey, you know what, you're in trouble. If you work with the Trump administration, if you work with ICE, you're going to be in trouble. That doesn't sit well with the rest of the voters. No, it doesn't. And so this is why she's kind of losing her grip, and I suspect she's got a real shot at getting voted out, along with Kathy Hochul. I mean, she's, in the meantime, got other problems, let's face it. I mean, she's got real problems over the allegations of her mortgage situation. And right now, I don't know if she's even going to have the money to be able to fight this. The GOP is saying you don't have access to the $10 million. This is really also a very bad thing for Letitia James vis-a-vis the voters, because it doesn't sit well when they find out that you're using the $10 million of their taxpayer dollars to pay off your expensive lawyers like Abby Lowell, who represented Hunter Biden. That doesn't work. The voters are angry. So I would just say, I don't know, maybe at some point she might actually have to sell her stuff, maybe liquidate some of those assets. A nice little house in Richmond, Virginia. How much do you think that one's worth? Norfolk, Virginia. How much might that one be worth? I wonder. Anyway, she might have to actually liquidate some of her assets in order to pay for her expensive lawyers, because the GOP is like, you're not going to have this $10 million. And so it's funny, it's like poetic, right? What goes around comes around. Letitia, maybe you should have thought a little more carefully through that mortgage application before you went after Donald Trump for something that clearly you must have a guilty conscience of. I mean, if these allegations are true, woo!
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
Right? Poetic. You get it, right? Because you wonder if she's going to have to actually, nobody's going to be seizing her assets necessarily, at least not yet, but she's going to have to sell something. Like I said, that Virginia place, I'm not sure how much she's going to get, but enough to pay for the legal bills? I doubt it. Anyway, if she can't, she's looking at what, 30 years, up to 30 years in prison? Because she may have violated 18 U.S.C. 1014, giving false statements to obtain a federally insured loan. 18 U.S.C. 1001, false statements to the U.S. government. Ooh, Letitia, this is not looking good. It's really, really not looking good. She's definitely got problems ahead. So she is not going to be able to fight everything the way that she had anticipated as a result of the Supreme Court's decision earlier today. She's dealing with her own internal struggles there in New York, given that the rest of the state really has no use for her. She is not on board with them. Meanwhile, she's trying to use up all their money to pay for her legal bills while she simultaneously fights this thing, which is looking increasingly problematic as we scale back what's really going on with these allegations. She says she's perfectly innocent. It's just a typo. We're like, okay, aren't you a lawyer? Like, aren't you supposed to know better? Maybe you should be held to a little bit of a higher standard. They're falling like left and right, one after another. These libs, another one that's about to go, Governor Kathy Hochul, who's decided that she's going to take taxpayer dollars, 50 million of them actually, to fight the legal battles for migrants so that they don't get, say, deported after they've perhaps been here illegally and then committed a crime and their country doesn't want to take them back. Kathy's going to be there, running to their rescue.
That are walking out of this courthouse, taken away from their families. They don't have the attention. They don't have the lawyers. And that's why the state of New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for people who are finding themselves in this situation.
It's amazing. Okay? Like, it's totally amazing. Well, you know who's not going to stand for this? Elise Stefanik. I told you recently I thought she'd make a good governor of New York, right? It's official. She's going to be declaring her candidacy now. We have just learned that today. And she's going to, I suspect, take down one Kathy Hochul because as I told you, the only thing she's maybe got going for her is New York City. The rest of the place, no. And you know what? A lot of those people, they can't vote. Right? Like she went into Little Haiti the other day and talked about how awful it was and how scared people were. And it's because, once again, the Supreme Court had to step in. And the Supreme Court made the decision that people who have come here from a country like Haiti, as well as Nicaragua, Cuba, and Venezuela, all four of those countries, 532,000 of them were brought in during the Biden administration. They are now being told that their visas will not be renewed and that they must go home. So Kathy had this to say about it.
Do you want to know what I really think?
Please.
It's bull. How dare they take an elected official who's been going down there for weeks to escort people who are afraid to walk into a courthouse in the United States of America. So Brad Lander has stepped up to be a guiding help for them. And this is what happens to them. What the hell is happening to this country? I just left Little Haiti. People are being traumatized. Small businesses, people walking down the street. When I was there in August, the streets were mobbed. People were walking down the sidewalks. There were vendors everywhere. The traffic was crowded. Today, there was silence. People are living in fear. One woman just told me the ICE agents are going in and out of buildings there.
So, as you can imagine, Elise has a very good comeback for this. She actually was questioning in a recent hearing Kathy Hochul on some of her sanctuary policies, and it was really heated, like really, really, really heated. And she was very graphic in terms of some of the horrible things, Elise was, that have happened as a result of having people that you don't know are criminals in your country and in your state. And so Elise is really taking this on. Kathy didn't even know who these people were, what their names were. I mean, it was actually really atrocious. And it was really, I'll tell you, Elise is good. She's really, she trained as a lawyer. She went to Harvard Law School. She understands the law a whole lot better than any of these people do. And now she is running to take Kathy's spot. Listen to her recently speaking on Fox.
Ranking New York Republican who has really led the charge in holding New York elected Democrats accountable for their failures. Whether it's the economic crisis in New York, the highest tax state in the nation, the most unfriendly to small businesses, you're seeing a mass exodus of people who have been run out of the state because of Kathy Hochul's failed policies. On top of that, you're seeing a criminals first, an illegals first agenda fueled by Kathy Hochul, whether it's our failed bail reform or whether it's sanctuary cities. We need a governor that supports law enforcement, that supports rule of law, and frankly, common sense. And then, of course, you see a corruption crisis in New York State, whether it's New York Democrat governor after governor or Tish James, and she is rightfully being prosecuted by the Department of Justice for her alleged mortgage fraud. So it is ripe for new leadership in New York. I'm overwhelmed by the positive support, but we're taking a strong look at it. More to come.
Wow. And so, again, we have learned today that indeed, Elise Stefanik is going to be filing to run against Kathy Hochul as the governor of New York. Kathy Hochul saying, what's going on in this country? I mean, I have the same question. What's going on? When you have this guy, Padilla, that nobody had heard of, showing up unannounced at Kristi Noem, Secretary of the DHS, Department of Homeland Security's press conference, and tries to rush the stage. Yeah, what's going on?
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty?
Wow. I mean, that was quite a moment, right? Kristi Noem at that particular event said something really important. And again, it gets back to this idea of law and order. And I want to we played it back then, but I want you to hear it again in light of everything that's happening right now, because this should not be controversial. Not at all. Here's Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security Secretary.
My only question to you, I'd say a question back to you is, which laws in the United States should be enforced and which ones shouldn't? I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys. My job is not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't. We have laws in this country, and they matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers and as a national security department and agency, my job is to uphold the law, and that's what I will continue to do.
Like, how is that controversial? Really? I ask you, how is that controversial? You know what? It's not controversial. Don't kid yourself. It is not. Heck, Obama wanted it. I mean, he even said, he was asked in an interview with Telemundo, however many years ago, this may be 2012, actually maybe 2013, I'm guessing. I think we'll be able to see when I play the clip. But this is Obama saying, you know what, the law is the law, basically. He sounds a whole lot like Kristi Noem.
Last time we spoke, you said that you weren't king, you were president. There were only certain things you could do unilaterally. As time goes on, 1,000 deportations on average a day. People are wondering, and our Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds, that's the question everybody asks. Won't you at least consider unilaterally freezing deportations for the parents of deferred action kids?
Yeah. Here's the problem that I have, Jose, and I've said this consistently. My job in the executive branch is supposed to be to carry out the laws that are passed. Congress has said, here's the law when it comes to those who are undocumented, and they allocate a whole bunch of money for enforcement. And what I have been able to do is to make a legal argument that I think is absolutely right, which is that given the resources we have, we can't do everything that Congress has asked us to do. What we can do is then carve out the DREAM Act folks, saying young people who have basically grown up here are Americans that we should welcome. We're not going to have them operate under a cloud, under a shadow. But if we start broadening that, then essentially I would be ignoring the law in a way that I think would be very difficult to defend legally. So that's not an option. And I do get a little worried that advocates of immigration reform start losing heart and immediately thinking, well, somehow there's a an out here. If Congress doesn't act, we'll just have the president sign something and that'll take care of it. And we won't have to worry about it.
Amazing, right? They sound so similar. Don Baca, I'm telling you, you're going to have to get a job as a producer here on the Trish Regan Show, correcting me. Elise Stefanik did not go to Harvard Law, and he is correct. That was my mistake. You know, she's so good at cross-examining. I remember when she was cross-examining Claudine Gay, who was the president of Harvard, and basically took her down, as well as the woman from MIT and the woman from UPenn. She was outstanding, as she was when she was cross-examining Kathy Hochul the other day. She should have been a lawyer, but you know what? I'm kind of glad she's not. I'm kind of glad she's not, because we got enough lawyers in Washington, right? So, Don, you are correct. She went to Harvard undergrad, but actually wound up working in the Bush administration and was in sort of the policy departments and has a background in politics, not actually in law, very interestingly. So, I mean, but you hear those guys, right? You hear Obama, you hear from 2013. Oh, this was pre-Trump. You see, in other words, Trump stole their mantra. I mean, you go back to Hillary Clinton, you go back to Bill Clinton, you go back to any of the Democrats. It was actually Bush who seemed like he was pro-immigration, right? That used to be a Republican platform because, hey, you needed cheap labor. What was the woman on The View recently saying? You know, who else is going to clean this and that? Remember when she said that? And it was kind of a disparaging thing to say, but that was sort of the attitude, or is the attitude, I guess, now. But it used to be believed that that was the attitude of the GOP. And so he's flipped that on its head. And they're sitting there, and they're just welcoming people in. I guess because they really want to embrace socialism and let them eat cake. Unbelievable. You know who's one of them? LaMonica MacGyver. Oh, she's out pleading her case all over cable because she has literally no money to be able to fight her legal bills. So she's looking for handouts wherever she can get it. We are so proud to be in the top 100 here on the Trish Regan Show. Gosh, you guys, we made it to 62, I think, last week. They come out with a list on Wednesdays. No pressure or anything. This week could be a little bit harder. Full disclosure. So do your part. Get the word out. We got to get to LaMonica because she is making the rounds on cable and she's trying to defend herself. And we're like, defend yourself? I mean, hey, there's videotape, for goodness sakes.
Trump country is booming. We're building, hiring, and winning in America because energy tax credits put America first, bringing manufacturing jobs home and creating a stronger middle class.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
And America's comeback depends on American energy. President Trump, keep what works. Don't repeal energy tax credits. Paid for by Built for America.
LaMonica MacGyver is pleading guilty to, forgive me, Freudian slip, not guilty. I think she should plead guilty, but you know, hey, not guilty to endangering law enforcement or impeding law enforcement or assaulting law enforcement. Don't forget, Alina came after her with this, violating Title 18, United States Code, Section 111A1 for assaulting, impeding, and interfering with law enforcement. So she's like, no, I'm not guilty. No, you know, you didn't see anything. You know, was that me in red? Watch. Oh, yeah, that's you. That's you, Monica, the lady in red. Now, how did this happen? You got to ask yourself, like, why would somebody not make an appointment? She could have made an appointment. That's usually how it's done. I understand. Okay, you care about the illegals that are being housed at Delancey Center in Newark, New Jersey. So you want to do something about it, and you make an appointment to go and see the facility to make sure everybody's okay. You don't resort to pushing your weight around, quite literally, by trying to force your way through. And somehow she thought that she could do this because she was a representative in Congress. I kid you not. Like, it's actually part of her defense right now. She's like, well, I'm a U.S. representative. They can't come after me like this. What is Alina Habba doing? Yeah, like this is what she said, guys. Here she is talking about how they can't come after her because she's, you know, LaMonica. I love the name. LaMonica. Like not Monica. LaMonica. Just saying.
Yes. What was it like to be in the courtroom? I mean, there was a mix of emotions to be there. I mean, obviously, this is a crazy situation. I never thought I would be facing charges as a sitting congresswoman. It's a scary situation too, because I'm thinking of my mom. I'm thinking of my mom who was there with me, who's like stressed out about this,
I
right?
bet. That's a stressed out thing for a
Correct.
mom.
When they're saying that you're going to face 17 years in prison, I'm thinking about my daughter who's 9 years old. I'm thinking about my husband, my family, and it's like, oh my God, this is awful. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to stop doing my job because I know why I was there and I know why I'm being attacked. And so definitely just a mix of emotions during that period of time. And at the same time, I was happy to see it moving, going through the process that it's going through today. Obviously, I pleaded not guilty because I'm not guilty. And I'm looking forward to the next time being there and having the facts all laid out and really getting through this process, because it's also stressful, right? I mean, at the same time, I'm doing the work of the people that have elected me from the 10th Congressional District in New Jersey. But at the same time, this is stress. It's expensive, right? Because you have to fight this case, and it's a legal case where you have to have a lawyer, an entire legal team to defend you. And so it's a lot, and it's unfortunate and it's unnecessary. But at the same time, we cannot allow this administration to stop us as, elected leaders, Democrats especially, from doing their jobs.
I mean, the expenses is something I think people aren't really aware of. Are there
expense? Here we go. Expense. Like, she's out there fundraising off of this, you guys. My gosh. Contribute to my legal fund. I'm LaMonica MacGyver. I need your money. Okay, here she is. Again, I would just say, you know what? If you didn't want this to happen, why were you out there pushing your weight around? I mean, everybody saw it. Everybody saw this, okay? And apparently DHS has even better videotape. And according to DHS, she did actually assault. Now, you could look at that and, maybe you say, oh, well, she's just caught up and she's not really pushing them. And she's just being pushed by others. And so she looks, although there's her hand like slapping down on someone. I don't know. Apparently DHS, as I said, has even better angles of this videotape. And so it'll ultimately get decided by the court. And so if she didn't want to find herself in this situation, like, why was she doing this? By the way, the Newark mayor, he actually went in and sat down with Alina Habba, and they actually came to some kind of resolution. Yeah, that's why Alina didn't bother charging him with violating Title 18 U.S. Code Section 111A1. He didn't get charged because Alina said, well, he was actually pretty cooperative. But this one, she was livid. She thinks she's out there doing her job. And, well, I'm sorry, that's not your job to be pushing your weight around with ICE agents. The president even said it.
That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
And that's what this is about. So that's what this is about. She's all worried. She's like, oh my gosh, I might be going to jail for this. She keeps hitting on the expense. You saw it with Jen Psaki. And not only did LaMonica go on about how expensive it was going to be, but actually Jen Psaki then drilled into that again. It's like, what are you guys getting a cut of her charity fund? Here's LaMonica MacGyver again on MSNBC, network of choice, talking about how draining and awful and expensive this is. So come on, cough it up. She needs money.
The practical reality of what this means for you. How much time and how much money is this costing you?
Well, first of all, it's taken up a lot of my time, but I am still 150% dedicated to the people that I represent in the 10th Congressional District in New Jersey, and I don't want this to get ahead of that. And so that is why yesterday when I had to run back to New Jersey, go to court, plead not guilty, I literally ran out of the courtroom, said a couple of words, and had to hop on a flight back to D.C. to vote because, once again, my job comes first, and I don't want this to, in any way possible, to get in the way of that, of the work that I need to do for for the people of the 10th. So that's one thing, but it is time consuming. And then it's also very expensive, right? No one's, taking up this case for free. I have to pay for attorneys. And so you have to, raise funding and get support to be able to fight them, because at the end of the day, these charges are serious. They're saying that I can face 16 to 17 years in prison, and it's worrisome at the same time, right? I'm very courageous, and I'm very, not going to back down, and I'm going to continue to do my job and hold this administration accountable. But at the same time, I'm thinking about my 9-year-old. I'm thinking about my husband. I'm thinking about my mom, who's worried to death about what is happening and what this administration is doing to me. This is my first time in a situation like this. And so we're taking it really serious. And so we want to make sure we have a great legal team. We have all of the resources and tools that we need to fight this, because at the end of the day, these are real charges. This is a real situation.
Congresswoman, there are a lot of people out there, myself included, that know.
Wow. A piece of my mind making the point, La Monica, would you do anything different if you could? And she's already answered that question, actually, it was either CNN or Jen Psaki's show, where she was like, no, nothing different. And this is exactly the kind of lack of remorse that Alina was really annoyed about. She's like, this woman thinks that is okay. And you know what? It's not. I realize you're a junior member of Congress from New Jersey, but I got to tell you, La Monica, you don't even have AOC on your side right now. Where's she? She hasn't said boo. She's not coming to your aid. Oh, she was there for the Newark, New Jersey mayor, but not for you. Maybe even AOC knows you're kind of pushing your luck. Yeah, just a bit. Kind of like somebody else we know who liked to push their luck. That would be the fallen MSNBC anchor, Joy Reid. Remember her, guys? She lost her job because, it just got a little too much. She was the one saying, don't go spend Thanksgiving with your family or Christmas with your family because you can't trust them if they voted for Trump. Well, she's now out on her feet and doing something, I don't know, I guess auditioning for a job at CNN. She showed up last night. Didn't go so well. She's even way off the reservation in terms of where the rest of the party is right now. The party is actually trying to get their ducks in a row because they see what's going on in New York City. AOC, thank you very much, right? They see what's going on with the socialists there, and they're starting to get nervous because they know that, once that train leaves the station, they're never going to get it back. And so the elites are actually, believe it or not, trying to come to the center. I mean, Adam Schiff saying nice things about the Trump administration. I got to show you this one, right? But before I do, Joy Reid on CNN for the little audition round, doing the loop-de-loop, sounded a lot like Whoopi Goldberg in terms of some of the things that she said about Iran, but then also saying oh my gosh, why can't Iran have nuclear power? I mean, this is a very lone viewpoint right now. I don't even think AOC has said anything quite like this. It's almost like she can't get her talking points right. One of her talking points is, well, what are we doing there? Because they don't have anything. And it's like, Joy, are you following the news? You guys have already shifted. You went from there's nothing there to, oh, they didn't get it. There's tons of stuff there, right? They're going to keep up. Keep up.
Why on earth is the United States bombing a country that did not attack us? What on earth are we doing there at all? And why is it that there is this arrogance in the West and in the United States to say that we get to decide who can have nuclear energy? We get to decide that. And
Well, the reason they should not be having nuclear power, just to be perfectly frank, is first of all, they don't need it, right? They have tons of natural gas. They're like an energy capital. There are plenty of people around them as well with plenty of energy, as well as nuclear energy, should they so need it. And given their very, very religious underpinning that is by, any stretch, I'm not going on a limb here. Okay, this is a country that is considered an enemy of the United States and wants to do harm to the United States, right? That is not a controversial thing to say, just so we're super clear. Everybody is in agreement on this. And everybody, except for apparently Joy Reid, is in agreement that a non-nuclear Iran is a good thing for the world. The the world is in a safer place if they do not have a nuclear weapon. So why is Joy Reid spouting this? Like I said, it was an audition that went really badly because she's not keeping up with the talking points. Clearly not reading the news, because even Adam Schiff is playing ball. Shifty shift. I never thought I would ever hear him say anything positive about the Trump administration. But wait until you hear this one, guys. Shifty Schiff is now, well, shifting again, saying that, you know what, there's some things to be very proud of here in this moment. I mean, he sounds a lot like Rahm Emanuel. I mean, they're having a big giant party. Should we be worried? What is this? Is this like reverse psychology? They figure, oh gosh, that socialist won in New York. We better do something. Maybe we ought to be joining one with MAGA at some point. Here is Senator Adam Schiff out of California. You know, the guy that started the whole Russia thing.
If this ceasefire takes effect or it remains in effect, that will be a very strong positive for the whole region, indeed for the whole world. It will mean that no U.S. service members were injured in Iran's retaliation against our base in Qatar. It will mean, hopefully, an end to the fighting between Israel and Iran and the loss of life as a result of that war. It will also mean that, at least for now, Iran has chosen not to escalate because of the vulnerability of the regime, because of the weakening of its defenses by Israel, and for a host of other reasons. So if this holds, that will be an unmitigated positive.
You like my sunglasses? It's kind of functioning like a headband today. You know, guys wear hats. My hair's getting a little messy. Put the sunglasses in. Anyway, that was Adam Schiff. And I'm blown away. He's saying there's a lot of positives there. And he's not the only one, okay? He's not the only one. You got Rahm Emanuel, you know, Obama's guy, sounding very similar. This is amazing, you guys. This is the Democrat establishment breaking ranks with AOC and La Monica and a few others.
Yeah. So, Jake, let me just walk back. There's some significant wins here, significant losers here, and some unanswered questions. On the losers, the one big loser, in my view, is not just Iran, and I'll get through that, but is Russia. Russia, if you take a step back, all their weapons, the S-300, did not protect Iran. They've been proven to be a feckless ally. They didn't come to their defense. They've been kicked out of Syria. They're now been shown to be weak not only in Iran. They have a war going on 3.5 years on a country a tenth of the size. They can't win. Their intelligence was wrong about Syria. Their intelligence was wrong about Wagner. Their intelligence was wrong about Ukraine. They've become dependent on China, and they've lost Europe. They have had the worst record here, strategically, militarily, and if the president would press the point, you could actually not only end the war, you could actually set back Putin's desire. Second, this is not the Persian Empire recreate. Everything that's been done over 40 years by the Ayatollah has been blown up. The nuclear program costing $100 billion, lost in Hezbollah, lost in Hamas, hundreds of billions of dollars obliterated. They have a brain drain in Iran. They have a weakening economy, major loss. I don't agree with the President of the United States. Do not, on many, many issues. But you have to admire that when the United States says all options are on the table, he just proved all options are on the table. And China and Russia and even North Korea have to step back because that has a level of deterrence. So the blast radius of this goes much farther. Now, the question to the president.
Oh, I just have to stop. Are you guys hearing this? Did you hear that? I mean, he's basically saying this guy's like the best leader for foreign policy I think we've ever had in modern history. Donald Trump is swinging for the fences. Like, he's playing for real. And I'm going to talk about that coming out of this. I mean, I'm sure Rahm can't make it all, a bed of roses, but that's a pretty significant endorsement of what this president just accomplished. And, when he says he's having repercussions for Russia and for North Korea, this is kind of amazing. It is amazing what's happened. And that's why the market's been soaring all week. But let's continue listening.
Are you going to use the military window diplomatically and politically to strategically make this win significant and lasting? Saying you're not going to have an Iran nuclear agreement is crazy, and it's wrong. Are you going to press the point in Gaza and end the war? Are you going to press the point in Ukraine now that you have leverage, or are you going to fritter it away because of your relationship with Putin? And lastly, I don't ever remember, Jake, a situation where the President of the United States took military action on a foreign country's intelligence, not American intelligence. They, in the Situation Room, should have said, why are our intel over here? Israel's intel over here? What do they know that we don't know? What do we know what they don't know? Not only after the fact, but before. And I think there's a real question here. You know, America's intelligence was degraded in 2003 in the Iraq War when it was manipulated. It resurrected itself in Ukraine, showing we knew a lot. And post-Ukraine, we just took military action as a country. And I just gave you my view of the consequence of that. And we did it based not on our own intelligence, but in other countries.
Yeah.
And so to me, beyond the Senate briefing, that is a real step for the United States. And we hasn't proven to work, but it could have put our troops at risk.
Oh, come
so
on.
There's
Okay.
a real.
So it's like he just couldn't. It's like the producer got in his ear and said, hey, you know, ratings are going down. Come on, shift it around somehow, some way. So on the one hand, he's like, this is the most brilliant move ever, like with major repercussions for the rest of the world. And then he's like, but he trusted somebody else's intel, et cetera, et cetera. I think that we had intel to back it up. I would just say, listen, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm going to take that as a win from Rahm Emanuel and Shifty Shift, okay? They're coming out actually saying nice things about the president. And I find that sort of compelling and interesting and amazing because you know what? Sometimes you just can't ignore reality. And remember, Donald Trump is playing a whole different game. Not that he's playing a game. Maybe that's a bad way of characterizing it. He is actually committed to doing the best possible job he can for this country because you know what? He won't have another shot. He's looking at this saying, hey, you know, I could be out any day for goodness sakes. I mean, they tried to take him out. Think about that. If he hadn't turned back to look at that immigration chart, he wouldn't be here today. So he's approaching, I think, every moment, every day, every week with this sense of purpose. In the first administration, it was like, wow, we won? This is amazing, right? And the other side took advantage of that. Comey actually admitted that he took advantage of it because they didn't know what they were doing because they were all green. They had just gotten there and they were surrounded by these sophisticated politicos that knew how to work it to try and take him out, so to speak, right? And make things really difficult and really miserable. Well, now they're trying to make it difficult and miserable. I mean, that's what Letitia James is up to day in, day out. And yet she's now getting shot down at every single turn. That's what we saw again with the Supreme Court deciding that a single judge cannot actually get in the way and issue an injunction, a nationwide injunction against the executive orders of the President of the United States. So he's prepared legally to fight this battle. He's prepared from an intelligence perspective to work with other countries if need be, to make sure that we are secure as a nation and make the world a more secure place. And by the way, bring oil prices down with it. That was amazing to me. Amazing that we saw oil decline. And actually, it's down slightly right now in today's trading. But you saw oil come down, 8% the first day and then another 5.5% the second day. It went up like 1% the third day. But it's just amazing to see. And I'm looking right now at the markets, which are still in positive territory. So day 5, right, of positive territory for the markets. Guys, this is sort of incredible. It's really kind of incredible, all that's happening right now. And I think you just, whatever you do, you cannot underestimate this president. This president wants good things for this country. He wants safety, he wants security, he wants prosperity. And so I'm taking that bet, right? As an investor, I want you to take it too. And hopefully I can help you because I know a few things about finance and my colleague does as well over at 76 Research. I started this company with all of you in mind. You can get my research with code word dollar, DOLLAR, and it's just $1. $1 a month for the first 2 months, and then it goes to $9.95. You can cancel anytime. You don't like it the first month, you're out $1. Actually, you won't be out $1 because we will refund your $1. How do you like that? But a lot of our picks have just done enormously well, including one recent pick that we issued over Father's Day, which had been up like 23%, and then is obviously continuing the rally here in this kind of market. I am a long-term investor, so unlike our friend Don Baca, who's in and out of stocks and all kinds of things, commodities every day. He used to work, I think, at the CBOE, you told me. Anyway, we are long-term believers in the stocks that we choose. And sometimes we'll rotate just from a positional standpoint, right? If a stock gets too high, maybe then you diversify into something else. But this is what we walk you through. We do not manage your money in any way, shape, or form. You have your money. This is just the research that we can provide you to make educated decisions about what to buy, what to invest in. And right now, I mean, it's kind of hard to go wrong, right? Wow, everything, Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, all higher each day this week. And this is even coming amid news that Trump says he's terminating trade talks with Canada. So you would have, in fact, I was looking at the market because you know me, whenever the market goes down, I go in and I buy, and I was keeping an eye on the NASDAQ to see if it turned into negative territory. It has not. It is not. We are still in positive territory. We're hanging on, but it's almost coming down to the flat line. So I'm watching it very carefully to see if there is an opportunity to get back in there today because, like I said, I am a big believer in the long-term longevity, if you would, of the MAGA economy. Just lots of good things happening. Here's a picture you can see of the Chinese equivalent of Scott Bessent, there, our Treasury Secretary, making a deal. They're confirming the details of the trade deal. Donald Trump saying there were about 9 or 10 of them announced last night. Howard Lutnick as well coming forward with the news to Bloomberg. So you saw the futures market going higher overnight. So all kinds of deals happening. It's interesting. We're making a deal with China, but apparently not making a deal with Canada because Canada tried to, I think Donald Trump would call it bait and switch, right? We're not supposed to have any tariffs. And you can't go in and tariff our tech companies. That's not going to happen. So he's like, I'm done. I'm out. We shall see where this leads. But wow, I mean, what a week, right? I mean, this is what you call winning. It's amazing. I mean, from what we saw Saturday night, it was around 7:30 when I got the news. I was at my cousin's house. I mean, it was just amazing what happened. And like, this has all been developing and we've been hearing more and more good things, despite what, some people at CNN and the New York Times say. I think overall the consensus is, and you don't have to listen to me, you can look at the markets, you can listen to Rahm Emanuel, okay? Listen to Rahm. He'll tell you. I mean, for them to say this, that is a big deal. And I think Donald Trump, 880, that's great. Thank you so much for the generosity, S. Cullen, pointing out that we are now at 880,000 subs here on the YouTube channel. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We want to hit 1 million, right? I've been joking that I'm going to sing. That's a piano behind me. Just have to go over there. I won't be here next week, but I'm at my parents' house. I'm at my parents' house in the wonderful Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire. And I took my son up here because it was really hot. And I thought, it'll be good to be here. We're kind of near the beach and we'll have a good time and I'll get to see the family. So this is the house that I was born and raised in. This is the house that I came home to the hospital in. And I am sitting in what used to be our kitchen, which was like really dark and really red because, it was the 70s. So everything was like red. You had a red kitchen. We had all kinds of funny colors. I was reminding my mom of this the other night. I think, my room was like this rust color and I had like this orange bathroom and that I shared with my sister. And then we had like a lime green room down here in the study. I mean, it was the 70s, right? Talking about a bad decade. Boy, oh boy. Carter too, right? Like between Carter, I mean... And we really needed Regan when we got him. Anyway, this is the house that I came home to. So it's been around for a while. And I love taking the kids here. There's a lot of just wonderful memories. And it is different. I was walking my son through the whole area because they have, over the years, definitely changed the house and modernized it in different ways. And it's just nice to come back and be here with them and with all of you. So thank you for tuning in. I mean it. I think Donald Trump, he is swinging for the fences. He has nothing to lose. And he is committed to making sure that we are more secure and more economically stable as a nation. And so it's why I'm so bullish on the economy. And I'm very excited to see all that we've seen right now. And I think there's going to be a lot of good things ahead. What do the Democrats have? Oh, they got AOC. They got Letitia, who's got political aspirations of her own, kid you not. They got Jasmine Crockett, who's actually being talked about as a possible presidential candidate. I know. Hope you're not eating. Anyway, I mean, come on. Like, that is just, you know what? Good. Go for it. You know, you do that all day long. And the GOP, with its stronger policies on the economy, and in my estimation, national security, will continue staying ahead. I love having you guys here. David Lorenzo, it was an awesome week, right? Just an awesome, awesome, awesome week. Really amazing to see. I mean, there is so much winning. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's truly, truly amazing to see. I'm so happy for the country. I'm happy for the Trump administration. And I think there's going to be a whole lot more good coming forward. Chicago DB, Don saying that we're going to be at 1 million, you think, by the end of August, so long as I don't take a vacation. Do I ever take a vacation? Do I ever take a vacation? I'm supposed to be on vacation right now. You see the sunglasses? This is supposed to be my vacation. I never take a vacation. You know, maybe a day here and there. I haven't taken one in a while. I think whole time I was away last summer, even this spring, we were on the air every single day. I am committed to this for you guys, and I know you're committed to me as well. So do your part and share and like and make a comment if you're seeing this after the live show. Let me know what you think. I do actually try to read all the comments, so make sure you do that. And we'll be back here, if not live tomorrow, for sure live, back in the studio. The studio on Monday. I'll see you then. Have a good one.